Our normal business hours are 8:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We are closed on all federal holidays. If you wish to speak to an operator, press 3 or stay on the line. If you would like to hear this message again, please press 4. FBI Houston.
Yes, ma'am. I just spoke with Ms. Norma, Secretary from Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Mark Webster. I was telling her she was supposed to get me to a duty agent, and we end up getting on the East Coast or West Coast. Here's what I need to do. I would like to speak with an attorney first for the FBI.
Why?
Why do I want to speak with an attorney?
Yes.
I need to, well, ma'am, it's been my experience when I speak to duty agents, they don't tend to know the law of Congress for its statute, the elements of what constitutes crimes. But when I've spoken with FBI attorneys, they've had to tell FBI agents that what I'm saying is correct.
Okay. What are you saying? What is your complaint?
Okay, ma'am, for purpose of Title 18 USC, section 1201, it's a general kidnapping statute. And when persons that are clothed with authority, such as judges, FBI agents, and others, commit acts in the course or performance of their job, and they have no such authority to do that. For example, my child was taken by Child Protective Service while an investigator was purporting to be acting as an investigator for CPS when he had no authority to take my child to begin with. So this is two forms of kidnapping by two different separate federal statutes. I mean, in fact, some FBI agents don't even know that police officers leaving one state, going into another state, taking a person from that state is a kidnapping for purpose of federal law, which is why, the federal kidnapping statute come in because of a baby. That's when we got the federal statute. So my research, I did my research on how kidnapping comes about, but it's because of a child, why it came about. But my child has been taken kidnapped. And when he was taken kidnapped, in other words, the agent investigator had no court order. He had no consent, and he had no emergency. So the federal court said, okay, then that's a kidnapping. From this day, I have not seen my child, and nor have I been able to talk in courts about what happened. And then, and this was in 17, in 2020, Child Protective Service has said my child has never been in the system. Now, when someone files a report of child abuse against your child, ma'am, or any other child, the state of Texas has to put that information in what they call a central registry. My child has never been in the registry. Now, of course, because of the scandal, he will be put in there. But when I've already got them recorded saying he's never been, but at that time, they didn't even know why I was calling. They were not alerted to what to say. So what I'm doing, I just want to follow with the duty agent, and then I'm finna take it on up to the director. I'm waiting on Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman. I'm finna go all over the world with it. I'm doing this the lawful way, and it's going too slow for me. So what the FBI should have done is already got one of their own attorneys, an attorney that deals with kidnapping.
I'm going to transfer you to the duty agent.
Thank you.
Okay, Houston.
Is this the duty agent?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I know we're both recording the call. Are you allowed to give your name?
I'm the duty agent, sir, and no, I'm not recording this call.
Oh, well, okay, the call should be recorded. Ma'am, I'm Mark Webster, Assistant Special Agent. You know me well. If you know, I used to come over there, do food and water strikes. Okay, so I'm here locally, before going to Washington and to the Supreme Court to report, I want to do a formal report of child abuse. I'd like to come in and have an attorney for the FBI present so that he can explain to the FBI what the elements and components of kidnapping when it's done by persons like CPS or police.
Sir, we are open for anybody to come in with a complaint from 8 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Okay, so I can't make it over the phone.
Well, I mean, if you want to make it over the phone, yes, I can take the complaint.
I don't want to purport to try to state all the facts to constitute the crimes. I just rather cite, just give a general description, and then you all can call me and we'll set a date for me to come in and provide the details.
No, sir, we need all the details first because that's how we determine if it meets the threshold of our jurisdiction that we are permitted to investigate something, and then we can push it forward, or if they say no, it doesn't. But we don't, if we do not take information and then say, well, we'll call you back to get more. I'm the duty agent for this day, and I take all the information that you need to give me, and I pass it on, and they make a determination if it meets the federal threshold or not.
Very well. Okay, I guess I'll start it. Just give the main descriptions of the crime.
Okay, well, first, sir, I'll need your name.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Ronald Dwayne Whitfield, Special Agent in Charge.
Okay, Ronald, you said DeWitt?
Dwayne.
Dwayne, is that DEWAYN?
Without the email.
Without the E. So
Yes.
it's DWAYN.
That's correct.
And you said Whitfield?
That's correct. WHITFIELD.
Okay.
Okay.
And a telephone number for you, sir?
832-882-5696.
Okay, and you are with, I'm sorry, I didn't catch who you said you were with.
I'm not with anyone. I am the father, legal father of my son that was kidnapped by persons acting under color law.
Okay. Okay, and the son's name that was kidnapped?
His name is Caden, Kaden.
I'm sorry, K as in kilo?
Yes.
ADEN.
Yes,
Same
ma'am.
last name?
Lee is the middle name and Whitfield is the last name.
Okay, and his date of birth?
His date of birth is Wednesday, August 24, 2016.
Okay. All right, sir. And the mother's name?
Her name is Brandy Brenay, Brenay, Whitfield.
Okay, you said B-R-A-D?
I'm sorry, BRE.
B-R-E.
N-A-Y.
E-N-A-Y. Okay. And you said Renee, R-E-N-E-E?
No, ma'am. That I'm pronouncing Brenay. Brenay, she puts it.
Oh.
Brenay, B-R-E-N-A-Y.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir. Okay. So the circumstances?
The circumstances are, I guess I could just, okay. The circumstances are on Saturday, May 6th, 2017. My wife was being held kidnapped at Texas Memorial Hermann Hospital. Governor Greg Abbott had signed a veto, Senate Bill 359, vetoing that bill, giving hospitals authority to hold people against their will. They were holding her anyway, against the will without a judge's order, because she came in with a toothache, and they asked her some questions, and so they told her she needed to call her husband to come get our child, which is myself. I came to get my child, and I went in recording with my cell phone, and I asked why was my wife not free to leave, and I was told circular reasoning that she was not free to leave because, well, she just isn't free to leave. I then at that time told them that I know the special Assistant Special Agent in Charge Mark Webster of the FBI in Houston. I'm going to file criminal charges with the Houston Police Department and do a report on Monday with the FBI. And they got mad and retaliated and called CPS, said that I was in the hospital and they watched me commit child abuse, and they just let me leave, even though there were off-duty police officers there and security guards. Now, quickly, then we'll get to the main points. Congress has already investigated what they call bounty hunting. My wife gets Obamacare. That means that they want to send my wife to a private hospital so they can get kickbacks, called health care fraud. The United States Assistant Attorney Bob Andrews is already aware of that. He's asked me to get with the...
Okay, sir, you're skipping from a whole bunch of different things. What I'm trying to find out is, you're saying there is kidnapping and child abuse. And I'm trying to find that information, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure if that's federal violation, but I'm going to take your information and write it up.
Okay, you're not sure what is a violation?
I thought you said it was kidnapping and child abuse.
Ma'am, I was just giving you details. I wanted to board the details, but you said that you need...
Okay, and that's one thing. So what is it that you're trying to say is a violation?
Okay, after a false report of child abuse was made against my wife and me on that date, which was Saturday, May 6th of 2017, Child Protective Service and 2 police officers came to my residence without a warrant, and they took my child without a warrant and without my consent and without an emergency. The federal courts have said that is a kidnapping because they didn't have legal authority for taking my child. So nevertheless, when CPS is taking someone's child, again, I want to make clear, the case where the federal court is saying this is called Gates versus Texas Department of Family and Protective Service, that reported at 537 F3D, page 404. In other words, ma'am, in order for any person acting under color law, like a police officer, FBI, or a child protective service, to come into someone's house and take a child, they must have 3 things. They must either have a court order, parental consent, or an emergency. They had neither. Okay, then you got a kidnapping. So the next day, we went to court to tell the judge what they did. The judge is absent from the court. My mother was there. The FBI has already said, we'll get the surveillance recording. They didn't want the FBI, where you are, told me in May of 18, there is a surveillance recording. We can get it. So my mother's in court for the hearing because she's going to try to get my child. The judge is not there. He doesn't show up. But CPS attorney files an order as if she is a judge and stamp it, file, and now ever since then they've had my child without a judge holding a hearing to decide whether or not my child was kidnapped or was he lawfully taken. So you got 2 different issues here. You got one, CPS acting without a court order before they go to court, taking my child without a warrant, without my consent, nor an emergency. The federal courts have clearly, they've said we've been putting Texas on notice for over almost a decade now. You must have a order, parental consent, or emergency. So there's no dispute that they had neither. That's kidnapping count 1 under Title 18 USC Section 1201 and Title 18 USC Section 242. Deprivation of rights under color law. Now, the next day, we are in court. The only way that CPS can get out of this is to somehow obtain a court order. But like the FBI has said, in May of 2018, we can obtain the video to prove that judge never held the hearing. And my mother was there, the man that took my child was there, and I came. The judge never showed up. What did CPS do? They filed the order themselves and rubber stamp the judge's signature on an order where they know the FBI has already said, we'll get the video. You have the guy that took my child. He's going to testify to a grand jury. The judge did not show up. That means then that CPS never even if they hadn't kidnapped my child at the house, they never got judicial authority from a judge the very next day to put my child in child protective service or into foster care. They
Okay.
can.
First of all, sir, I want to make sure, because you're saying 2018, I thought you said May 6, 2017.
May 2018 is when we went to the FBI, and the agent on duty in May of 2018 brought to my attention that we can. He said, "Look, man, he said, look, the officer, you all recall when I come into the complaint room at the FBI. I don't know, I didn't get the duty agent's name, but he's a Caucasian male, and
Do you know what date you came in?
I got a recording of, I think it may have been May 13th, but he took down everything. And you may have been one of the agents that walked me to my, I'm not saying it was, but one female agent like you do that, she was pissed. I'm a mom too. And so if they getting away, yeah, so even I've had 5 FBI agents do days back to back, all female, 1 Asian, 2 black, and I guess 2 Caucasian. And none of them are okay with this because one of them said, I'm a mom too. And she was coaching me what to say to the FBI. And when you talk to us, you be very specific, but that's irrelevant to your question. But I just wanted you to know, FBI women, agents, 5 of them back to back, don't like what had happened. But who are they? I mean, and who are they? When you got the echelon in Washington on the 7th floor, I don't know what's going on here, man. But I'm making a report, and I'm finna go to the Chief Justice. I mean, to the Supreme Court. I can't deal with this no more. But what I'm giving you facts that the FBI and the Freedom of Information, if we get those video recordings from the complaint room, the FBI said we can obtain, if that judge did not conduct a hearing, we can obtain the video recording to show. You don't need that. But he called my mother. He called, and the man that took my child, him and my mother, are sitting side by side all day waiting on the judge to hold a hearing to see if CPS is going to get my child or is he coming home with us. And the judge never shows up. And all this time I've been trying to tell people, and I can't get, and nobody's act like they don't want to. People acting like they don't get it. In other words,
Okay,
ma'am,
sir, I don't know what the facts are for your call in or visit in person back in May 2018.
well, y'all have the freedom of information if we need to go that far, but I'm just telling you what the facts are.
Okay, but what I am saying is, I don't know if you give us a date, we could find out who it was that was on complaint that time. But whoever told you that, hey, we can go and get something, the only way we are able to go get any type of evidence is if we have jurisdiction to open up the case.
Well, he did. He said that. I mean, yes, ma'am.
Okay, but that is not. And then we also sometimes will have to have the United States Attorney's Office say, yes, we will be willing to prosecute, because we can't just open up any and all cases. There's way too many.
Okay.
So it's a tool. So all I'm saying is, if there is no case open, we do not have the authority just to go and collect evidence. If there's no investigation open.
Okay, as you know, by statute, I'm well acquainted on how the procedures for Congress and how the FBI conducts its investigation. Here's what we do. Here's what the law requires. If I come in and I state facts, which if those facts constitutes a crime as described by Title 18, USC Section 242, which describes crimes deprivation of rights, or under Title Section 1201, where a child is kidnapped. These two statutes work together, so it's not discretionary. Well, now if the U.S. attorney refuses to discharge this duty to prosecute, then I can go to court and get a court order to compel him to take it to a grand jury. He doesn't have discretion. In other words, ma'am.
Sir, all I'm trying to explain to you is that I could take your information, but I'm not going to be an agent that says, hey, look, yes, we're working that case, and yes, you have a case. I'm not doing that. That's not my job. My job is to take all your information, I write it up, and then pass it off to the squad that would handle them on this.
Right, and here's the problem with that. Yes, ma'am, and I get that, but this is why I say, I've talked to Mr. Webster. Enough of it's a scandal. What I'm saying, when a duty agent does do that, somebody is just saying we're not doing this. Not that it's not a crime. It's a cover up, and that's where we're going with it with Congress and the Supreme Court. This FBI has a duty to get that to the United States Attorney. If that United States Attorney here in Houston refuses to discharge his duty, then he can be goddamn prosecuted.
And that's fine, sir. I'm just saying, I'm not going to be, somebody else told you, yes, we can do X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to agree with that. All I do is I take your information, I write it up, and I pass it on.
Okay, great. But so this is I don't know what people call it, but this is the breaker or whatever some people say. I've already described one count in an indictment, all information for child abuse where my child was taken without one, a warrant, two, parental consent, or an emergency. The federal court, in that case I cited, has already said these are the only three conditions where child protective service, people acting on the code of law, can take a person's child. Okay, assuming that somehow that didn't exist and that they just took my child, and we still got to go to court the next day, which is Monday. The judge must hold a hearing to determine whether or not there was probable cause at the time that my child was taken that was a threat to his life, to his health, or safety. Since the judge did not conduct the hearing, how did CPS got my child?
Okay, so first of all, I want to try and get all these dates and stuff correct.
Sure.
It was May 6th, 2017, when your wife went into the hospital, and you said it was about a toothache or something?
You're great. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that was, you said the next day was a Monday, so that would have been a
No,
Sunday.
the next day is Sunday.
Okay.
May 7th.
So you guys went to court on May 8th, then, 2017.
Monday. My wife was not there. They took her kidnap again. That's why she couldn't leave. They wouldn't let her leave.
Did you get the hospital reports indicating what they claimed was the issue with her?
They wouldn't talk to me. They told me they told me she cannot leave because she just cannot leave.
Well, what I'm saying is your wife, are the two of you still together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So did your wife get her hospital records and say, hey, I want my records to give to my primary, so you can find out what it was that they claiming why they had the right to keep her?
Yes, ma'am. You might know Brian Collins. He called the doctor at the when they finally got her to a private hospital, and Brian Collins, special agent on duty that day. I got it on YouTube, and you'll hear me and him. We're going back and forth. I mean, me and Brian Collins, special agent where you are on duty. He calls the doctor and told the doctor, look, doctor, if you would just shut up and let me ask a question and quit defending yourself, we can probably get somewhere. Now, all I'm asking you is, what authority do you have for holding his wife in that hospital? And he told Special Agent Brian Collins, duty agent that day, that my wife was being held pursuant to an order and that I could go to McGregor to the hospital, Crazy House on McGregor and get it, and yet my wife was not being held to any order. So he lied to the special agent conducting an investigation. Just like they say others have lied to, like Flynn lied to the FBI when they was conducting them. They said
Okay.
lied.
So Brian Collins called the doctor.
Yes.
And the doctor said you can get the information from, you say McGregor. Is that McGregor Hospital?
Yes, ma'am. McGregor Hospital. It's called MHMR, I think. It's MHMR on McGregor Street. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, on McGregor. Okay, so what do you know what the hospital is actually called?
Well, it's a Harris. It's like, for people being committed. It's okay. How do I say? It's a nonprofit mental health hospital where the law enforcement take people off the street that have mental issues.
Okay.
So they took her over there, but they don't have wait. That's where the Dr. Cardona told Special Agent Brian Collins where I could go to get the order. I go over there, and they don't have an order. I don't even know what the heck I'm talking about.
But was she there?
No, they had her in a private hospital. They didn't
Okay.
get
That's what I'm saying. Did you go back to whatever hospital she was at and say, have her go and say, I want my medical records so I can give it to my primary?
Man, we have everything now. Yes, ma'am. We got from they defrauded the government. I think almost $100 some treating her for some she never had. Yes, ma'am. Your question was, I have from the county probate court everything, and that so in other words, they did not get authority from a probate judge until May 12th, if I'm not mistaken. So that means she was in custody from May 6th to May 12th until they finally got a court order to authorize her to be to detain her further. So I think she was released on the 18th. So in other words, like the FBI, Mr. Brian Kyle was saying, if you holding her without a court order, you're committing kidnapping. You got to have authority for holding her. Well, yeah, he can go to the McGregor and get the order.
Okay, sir. So did you give all this documentation to anybody?
Well, as it was, yes, I to the FBI.
Okay, so you gave the court order and everything else.
Oh, I'm sorry, court order. No, ma'am. He called, but if you're asking me, did I come back with a court order? I did come back in 2018 with a bunch of documents. Whether or not that order that's showing that she was not committed until April, May 12th was in there. I don't remember. But the FBI has taken a lot of documents from me. But at that time, the FBI was standing down.
What do you
Call from Mama.
What I mean by standing down, they just let them get it. The FBI was letting them get away with it.
Okay.
I mean, look, man, the man that run the FBI, you got two. You got Mr. K. Turner. He's the special agent in charge. Under him is Mark Webster. I used to come over there on the food and water strike. Mark would come out. We on first name basis, and we talk all night. I mean, not all night. All times of night when he's going to and coming from work. So he at the time that okay. So now, but just to speed forward, I caught Texas slipping, meaning in 2020, I was calling because my parents' rights were not terminated. So I was calling to check on the status of my child. And in May or April of 2020 is when I learned that Mr. Whitfield, your child has never even been in our system. That's what I'm trying to figure out why Mr. Morgan won't call me back now. In other words, regardless of anything I've told you, man, I got an audio. It's on YouTube at my YouTube account, which is called, channel. Write it down, please. Last Prophet, Ron Dwayne Whitfield, and you will see and hear me calling the state of Texas. This is the program, the regional director 6. You can get no higher than her other than going to Austin, Texas. And she's telling me last year, Mr. Whitfield, and she told me like 6 days in a row. I don't care what we might tell you a year from now or 3 weeks from now. I'm telling you today, your child is not now, nor has he ever been, Mr. Whitfield, in the system. And Mr. Whitfield. So she's letting me know, hey, if you can't read between the lines, Mr. Whitfield, I'm telling you, your child is not now. I'm on the computer. He is not now, nor has he ever been in the system. He is not in foster care. We don't know nothing about him being your parents' rights being terminated, him being adopted. All we know is that we got one report of child abuse, and that case was closed out. Other than that, we don't got nothing else. Now, I called her like 5 days after that in a row. That was not where Saturday and Sunday intervened, business day, and she and the director maintained that your child is not here. But they were indicating, now, Mr. Whitfield, you got enough sense to know by the time this gets to the FBI in Austin, Texas, you call us back. Just like today, we're going to have to say your child is in the system. But what are we telling you today?
Okay, so do you have custody of your child or not?
No, they
So
cannot.
you still don't have custody of your child today?
No, ma'am, and my parental rights have not been terminated.
Have you been given the opportunity to see your child?
No, they said that my child has no legal father. They said that my wife and I were not married, and therefore my child is what they call a bastard. He was born out of wedlock, and therefore...
Okay, has your wife tried to go see your son?
They let her see him from May, from the time they took him in 17 to May and 18, and then they said that they terminated her rights. Listen, please. Based on an order that does not exist. Based upon the order, is she's told her parental rights are terminated when we got the record. So when FBI
When
gets
you say, sir, when you say May 17 and May 18, are you talking about the year 2018?
yes, ma'am. I'm talking about from the time they kidnapped my child in May of 2017. Somebody, okay, ma'am. Let's look. Just bear with me, and I'll get it. I'm answering your question. Assuming that my child was kidnapped and given to a federal judge, I'm just to the FBI director. They got us thinking that my child is in foster care. So when my wife would go see my child, the state of Texas made me sit out in the street in the car. You cannot come on the property. Because why? That is not your child. Why is it not my child? Because we cannot find that you two are married. So we cannot find that you two are married. That means that that's not your child. So don't come on this property. She can come, the mother, but you can't. Why? Because we cannot find a marriage certificate. So that's not your child. So we're going to adopt it. We're going to take this child from you and put him up and do what we're going to do with it. So my wife was able to go in and see him, but I can't see my child. I ain't seen him since they took him. Now, she was able to go see him.
Did you produce your marriage license?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. But they yes, ma'am. They said, okay, the marriage license is in the county court.
Correct.
But they lied saying that they couldn't find it. Just lying.
Did you go and take them a copy of your marriage license?
They wouldn't let me come back in the courthouse no more because they said I was not his father. So don't come back no more. Don't you come back here no more. If
Your
you did,
wife didn't pay the birth certificate or the marriage certificate?
she did, and it got filed, but it don't count because the judge is not listening to anything she has to say. She don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear nothing. Shut up.
Okay.
That's what's going on here.
Okay,
So let me stress again. My wife said they are saying the state of Texas that her parental rights are terminated based upon an order that she failed to comply with. So all we do is just show that no order exists. So when we take this to the FBI, okay, so the FBI wants to know in the United States Attorney, why was this woman, was she terminated? Yes. Then we say, no, she was not. And here's how. Because you all say she was terminated based on the order, right? Well, yeah. Okay, here's the record. No order exists. This is, ma'am, this is why we got what y'all investigate, public corruption. Ma'am, I just happen to have a beautiful baby. I might be an ugly man, but God gave us a beautiful baby, and these folks wanted that child. And that's why these 5 LBI special agent women, they don't like what they see. The first agent we got was Asian. And I said, ma'am, do you see any child abuse? Hell no, I don't see none. So I even got FBI women, Asian, white women following me out to the security booth, coaching me on what not to say to the FBI. And if you don't know about a date, you say you don't know. I'm a mom too. And this shit ain't right. But I can't do